Hello and welcome to Radical Disruption. I'm your host, Maya Nicole, and I am truly giddy for this episode today. I know that you're going to walk away with at least one, if not five, golden nuggets from this episode that are going to be applicable to exactly where you are at currently in your business journey that you can implement, that you can learn from, that you can expand and grow from. It is going to be so good. So I had the opportunity to go on a retreat with Flodesk to Portugal in June with 9 other top affiliates, and it was truly life-changing in every single way. And I want to share a few lessons that I learned about business from each of the ladies on the trip. They are all 6 and 7 figure earners. So lean in close, take out your note-taking material because these little nuggets are good. Now, I learned some of these things through conversations that I had with these individuals, sometimes through overhearing conversations that they were having with other people, and some just from simply observing them. And again, these are good. So pull out your note-taking materials. You might want to listen to this episode a few times. I know you're going to find at least one golden nugget in this. The first person that I am going to talk about is Ellen. And this is what I learned from her. What your business needs isn't what your ideal client avatar needs for their business. Now, let me give some context on this and let me talk about how you can apply this into your own business. I was talking to Ellen about running ads, and I've been having this internal conflict now for about a year and a half when it comes to running ads. I've gone back and forth. I've interviewed ad agencies. I have listened to podcasts. I've talked to guests on this podcast, Radical Disruption, about running ads. I've done a lot of thinking about talking about running ads, but it always has come back to the fact that I teach organic growth in terms of like social media growth and also organic sales, right? And I've been afraid that if I run ads, that it's going to discredit the fact that I teach that organically. And one thing that she said to me was, what your business needs isn't what your ideal client avatar needs for their business. And it was just this really important moment for me in my business in reminding me that just because I start to do something else doesn't discredit all the things that I've done. And what do I mean by that? I have grown my following just on Instagram 280,000 plus organically, zero paid ads. I have done 2 million in revenue in 2.5 years, totally organically, no paid ads. And me running now ads in this stage of my business because that is what my business needs and that's supportive of my strategy and my goals in my business doesn't discredit all the organic growth that I have personally had myself. And it doesn't discredit the fact that I teach organic growth. And so how can it apply to your business? What you need or what your business needs isn't what your ideal client avatar needs at this stage in their journey. What your ideal client avatar needs at that stage in their journey is going to be different than what you and your business needs in your stage of your journey. They're two separate things and you have to treat them separately, and you can obviously slay in both areas. You can slay in helping your ideal client avatar with whatever it is that they need. So if you are, let's just say that you're in nutrition and you are teaching your ideal client avatar that they need to be, I'm totally just going to make up something really random here. So if you're in nutrition and this doesn't align with anything in nutrition, I'm sorry, totally making this up. But let's just say that you're in nutrition and your ideal client avatar needs to eat more protein. Okay. That doesn't mean that you need to eat more protein too. You get what I'm saying? And that's how I was treating ads. Like I was treating it like, oh, my business needs ads. So that means that if I start teaching or if I start using ads, then my ideal client avatar needs ads too. But that's not supportive of what I believe. And so then I was like, okay, if that's not supportive of what I believe, then I can't run ads because my ideal client avatar shouldn't be running. You know what I'm saying? So that was obviously just a random scenario when it came to nutrition, but that could be the case for your business where it's like, you're thinking about, oh, maybe you teach people, I don't know, how to go vegan because that's supportive of their gut health for the stage that they're currently at in their journey. But does that mean that you need to go vegan? You know what I'm saying? So you have to always separate the two things. Are they intertwined? Yes. And do you need to have a background and knowledge in what you're teaching and helping and supporting your ideal client avatar through? Yes. 110%, but you also need to realize that what you need and what your business needs might not be the same thing that what your ideal client avatar needs. All right, the next person is Cara. And this tip right here, I kid you not, I implemented this, I think it was 1 week after I got back from Portugal, and I tripled the amount that I would have made in a brand partnership just from this one tip alone. What is it? Cara's amazing. Raising prices when it comes to pitching to brands by utilizing different package deals. So you're going to create 3 different packages when you pitch to a brand. Now, in terms of how to pitch to a brand, all of that, there's actually an episode with Kalia, and she's amazing, and she talks about all of this in terms of pitching brands and all that. But when it comes to the point where you're actually like in the negotiation stage with a brand, you can present this to them. You can present 3 different packages. And these packages, I'm totally just going to make this up. Obviously, you need to figure out what makes sense in terms of these packages and different price points. So totally making this up here. But let's just say your basic package includes just a reel, and it's $500 for just one reel. And then you have a middle package that is a reel plus maybe a story set. So 4 stories on Instagram. And that is $850. And then you're going to have your top tier package. And this top tier package, you're going to position it as a multi-touch point package. And it's going to include the reel, the Instagram story set, and repurposing of that content onto other social media platforms. Again, that's where the multi-touch point comes in. And you're going to position it to them, or sorry, I should say the price point. Let's just say you're going to price that top tier package at $2,500. So that's like almost 3, if not 4 times the amount of the middle tier package. And now you might be thinking, okay, why? Like a brand is 100% just going to choose the basic package. I pitched this exact thing to a brand, and they chose the top tier package because of the way that it was positioned with the multi-touch points. Now, what does that mean? What does multi-touch point mean? It means that when you are creating that content for your reels, you're going to repurpose that onto other platforms such as TikTok. Maybe you have a YouTube channel. Maybe you have an email list and you're going to move some content over there. You're going to utilize other marketing platforms to present that same information to them. Maybe you could even utilize your broadcast channel. If you have a broadcast channel on Instagram, like there are so many different touch points. And again, it's just the ability for your community to see that brand in different settings multiple times. So that's how you're going to position it to them and to a brand. And you're going to say, this is why this top tier package is the best. And I recommend, you can even say, I recommend the top tier package because it's a multi-touch point package. And then you're going to go in and you're going to explain to them why that's important to have multi-touch points, because multi-touch points is going to help with conversions, right? And this is actually something else too that I was talking about with both Ellen and Cara. I didn't plan on sharing this, but I think it's so interesting. I was talking to them about this at dinner. You probably have heard this, where it takes 7 to 10 exposures for someone to become a customer. 7 to 10 exposures. Ellen was saying that she read somewhere, and I'll have to look this up too, but I believe her. And I actually was just listening to someone else's podcast, and they talked about this as well. It's coming from some source that's credible, but they were talking about how it's actually closer to 20 to 25 touch points before someone is like confident in making a purchase now. Like it's not the 7 to 10 exposures. It's now like 20 to 25 exposures. And so that is the reason why this top tier package is so important, is because for a brand, most of the time when you're working with a brand, they're wanting people to convert into customers. And so when you have multiple touch points, you are then helping to increase conversions. You know what I'm saying? And when I say touch points too, it doesn't mean that every single time it has to be selling. It could just be seeing a logo of a brand. It could be hearing a song that they relate back to a certain brand. Like there's so many different things that include in touch points. And that was another thing that I was talking to Ellen and Cara about too, because I was like, what exactly does it mean when we hear 7 to 10 exposures, or now it's, the 20 to 25 exposures? What does that actually mean? What does exposure mean? And it's not selling every single time. Can it be? Yes. But it doesn't mean that you have to be selling 20 to 25 times before someone's ready to make a purchase. They just need to be aware and hear about that offer, that brand, whatever it is that you're trying to sell people into, or at least think about something that relates to that offer, that brand, again, whatever it is that you're selling people into, 20 to 25 times generally before they're ready to actually make a purchase and invest in that thing. So that's, again, a little side note there, but that was super interesting. But again, I implemented this from Cara, this 3 package, and I booked the top tier package because I presented it in the multi-touch point way where I explained to them why this is the package that I recommend and why it's really powerful for them. And I made 3 times the amount that I would have made otherwise. So there's that for you. All right, the next person is Natalie. So Natalie she is I don't even know what her title is inside of Flodesk. I should know this, but she works for Flodesk. She just recently joined the Flodesk team. She's fantabulous. And she's also an author of several books, just like one of the coolest humans. All the human beings on this retreat are just like, every time I got to know someone a little bit more, I was like, why are you like the coolest human being on the planet? So highly recommend giving all these people a follow. I will link their socials down in the show notes so you can go check them out. But Natalie, the lesson that I learned from her is that people are what it's all about. So she has spent her whole entire career, I think like 10, 15 years, building communities and bringing people together. Specifically in her thing now is a lot more, actually, let's take 2 steps back. Both online and in person is what I should say. She's just an expert at bringing people together and the power that happens when you bring people together. And I feel like the retreat, this is like the perfect example. Like all these lessons that I'm teaching you, I'm like, I learned these because Natalie is on the Flodesk team and helped bring people together. Anyways, just so powerful. So bringing people together, building communities, it's worth your time and energy because it's so powerful. The next person is Anna. And the lesson that I learned from her is that in the online space, it's so easy to look around at everyone else's timeline and how people have hit milestones faster or seemingly easier. But the reality is that's not your story and you have to focus on your timeline. And what this makes me think of is like being in the trenches. Like it feels like it's taking so long because you're the person that's going through it. And I have a little analogy or like comparison of how I think of this when it comes to like our own journeys versus like when we are looking at other people's businesses. I don't know if you've ever known someone who's gone on a really long trip or they were supposed to move away for a little bit of time but then come back. Let's just say that this person is like going away for a year. And I don't know about you, but like sometimes when those people come back from whatever they're supposed to do, that was like a really long time, like a really long journey. I'm like, wait a second, you're already back now? Or like I think about like my nieces, they are like, one of them is entering into high school. And I'm like, wait a second, like you're already entering into high school. Like how, like where is time gone? Like how did that even, like how did that happen so fast? And I think it's like when we're not the one that's like in it, it seems to go so much faster. Like when you're in high school and you are trudging through the day-to-day of high school, you're like, oh my gosh, this is taking so long. And I think that's sometimes how we feel about like our journeys as entrepreneurs, where it's like when we're the ones in it, it's like, oh my gosh, this is taking so long. But then like you get out of high school and you're like, oh, actually that went by in the blink of an eye. That's how I feel about my journey as an entrepreneur. At least like looking back, I'm coming up on 3 years of business. So August 18th is my 3 years, and I'm recording this now at the end of July, and that's my 3-year anniversary in business. And I'm coming up on that, and I'm like looking back on 3 years and I'm like, holy, this is going by really fast. But like when you're like in the day to day, you're like, oh my gosh, this is going by so slow. So anyways, that's just what the lesson that I pulled from her made me think about is like when it's easy to look at other people and be like, oh yeah, that's going by so fast for them, but they're probably in it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is going by so slow. You know what I'm saying? So you have to focus on your own timeline and it's going to go by so much faster than you even realize, but you need to do reflecting and really spend time in like the gratitude of the day to day of the actual journey versus just the destination of your business. The next person is Candice, and the lesson that I learned from her is you always want to be making decisions with the future of business in mind. And more specifically, I was talking to her, actually, I think I overheard her first talking about this with someone else. And I was so intrigued that I squeezed myself into this conversation. And she was talking about selling a company and selling her company. So she had a company prior to what she is doing today, and she sold that company. And there was actually, I think, two other people on the retreat who had also sold their company or were preparing to sell their companies, which I just was like, to me, I didn't even know that was a thing. Honestly, I didn't know that people just sold their online businesses. Like when I think of like a brick and mortar store, I'm like, oh yeah, like you go out and you sell your brick and mortar store. To me, that makes sense. But to sell an online business, I'm like, my brain didn't even think of that before. And so she was just talking about how important it is to build, frameworks and have like unique positioning when it comes to these offers that you're creating, because that helps to prepare you to be able to sell in the future if you want to. And obviously you don't have to ever sell your company. You could just close down your company. There's a lot of different things that you could do, but if you want to sell your company in the future, she was just talking about all these different things you need to be thinking about and setting in place. And she was talking about another thing that she mentioned is like having your finances in place. If you're going to go sell, they look back at 2 years, and you need to have tracked everything like super, super meticulously and had like really good bookkeeping. And so anyways, there's just, again, opened up a whole new world of, oh, that could actually be something that I potentially do down the line. Maybe I don't want to do this forever, and maybe I want to sell and then utilize the money from selling my business to be able to fund something else that I might start as an entrepreneur. So that was a lesson that I learned from Candice. Now, the next person is Cheryl, and I learned that from her, vulnerability brings people together. And so we were at dinner, and I think the question that was asked at dinner was, what are you most proud of at this point in your life? And it wasn't even focused around business. And some people talked about business, some people talked about life, some people talked about life and business. And we went around, but Cheryl shared a very vulnerable story. And like almost immediately, like the whole group, just like it almost felt like everyone was just like giving each other like a really big hug. And it was because of her vulnerability that I think that we also too felt that we could be vulnerable, and it just really brought us together. And I just think there's so much power in authenticity and vulnerability. And that's the whole entire reason why I created Radical Disruption, is to bring light to conversations that aren't happening and to share these more vulnerable moments that often aren't being talked about in the entrepreneurship space. And that is what my hope is with this podcast, is that my vulnerability is bringing you closer to not just me, but also to other people through entrepreneurship, and that you don't feel so alone. And so I just love that reminder from Cheryl of like, vulnerability is something that we all need. And it's something that will allow us to connect more with other people. So if you are starting to get scared of, oh, should I share this? Should I not share this? Should I, be this vulnerable? I'm like, yes, 100% be that vulnerable with your community, whatever that is, whatever your niche is, there is something that you can be vulnerable about. And there's something that you've been thinking about. I know it over these last few months. You're like, ooh, should I share this? Should I not share this? Share it. I double dog, triple dog dare you to go share that on your Instagram stories. Go create a post, create a reel out of it, get vulnerable with your community today. That is your challenge. Next person is LaShonda, and I love this lesson from her. We often get caught up in our work, get so caught up in our work that we forget what our work creates. And what I learned from her, and she was talking about how her business has allowed her to create so many different opportunities and memories with her mom. And so she's been able to take her mom to like concerts. And I think she took her mom on her very first like flight. Don't quote me on that, but it was really cool to hear from her about how her business has allowed her to create memories. And also too, I think her like kind of tagline when she was speaking about this specific thing is, what we do with the money we make changes lives. It's not just the money itself, it's what are you doing with that money. And there's obviously so many different things that you can do with that money, and maybe it's for you and for your family, maybe it is giving back to other people, like whatever it is, what we do with that money we make changes lives. Now, the next person is Praise. And what I learned from Praise is that there is energy, different powerful energy when you get in the room. And Praise is one of those people who is she's a connector, and she is really good at making people feel comfortable in a room, and again, just like bringing people together. So what I was talking about with Cheryl and the vulnerability of bringing people together, Praise is really good with her own energy and with the questions and conversations that she creates in bringing people together and helping you to feel that there is so much energy in the room. And I feel like that was like probably one of the biggest takeaways for me coming off of the retreat, is like, it is always worth it, no matter what you have to sacrifice to get yourself in the room, because it is just a different powerful energy than connecting with people online. The next person is Louisa, and I learned from her that family matters most. And while money can't buy happiness, money does give us the opportunity to help those whom we love, spend more time with them, and make more memories. And so this kind of comes back to the lesson that I learned from LaShonda, which is like, what are we doing with the money we make? And that is actually what matters the most. And I think that oftentimes we're so focused on that number of, oh, I'm going to hit $100,000 this year in terms of revenue. Like, we're so focused on those numbers, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Let's just go out and make all the money in the entire world and not make it mean something that we don't need it to mean. But also at the same time, like, what does that $100,000 in a year actually mean for you? Like, what are you going to do with that amount of money? That's actually what matters. And I think that is something that we should be more so focused on, in my opinion, than the actual money itself. Yes, let's go for that goal of, again, let's just say, for example, $100,000 a month, but it's like, what is that actually going to mean for you when you achieve that thing? And let's focus on that and like the life that you are going to be able to build, the impact that you're going to be able to make versus the actual number itself. And the next person is Ruth. And the lesson that I learned from her is that the details matter and they don't go unnoticed. And so Ruth played a heavy role in the overall planning of the retreat and all the different fun activities that we did and dinners and all of that. The whole experience would have been different without Ruth. And I just observed from her that the details were really important. And I, as a participant of the retreat, noticed those details, and that didn't go unnoticed. And I was actually on a training today with Candice, who I just talked about, who I was on the retreat with, and she was talking about, or she was teaching something in this masterclass, and she was talking about a small detail. And I literally found myself thinking as I was listening to her, does that really make that big of a difference? Does that really matter? And then she explained why it was important. And it was again, this little small detail on the back end of your email that would seem significant to most people from the outside looking in, but it's a detail that matters a really great deal, and it's something that will make a big difference in like my community and customer experience. And I was like, oh yes, like the details do matter and they don't go unnoticed. Now, the next person is Stephanie, and a lesson that she has implemented into her business that I also am wanting to implement into my business is the importance of making time for play. And she mentioned a book, which I haven't read yet, but I'm sure it's amazing and I have it on my reading list. And it's a book called Play. And she was just talking about how she is someone, and I relate so much to her, love her to death. She was talking about how she wants to monetize all of her hobbies and like everything that she does in her life. I've really had to force myself to just find time for play and do things just for the sake of doing them and like the enjoyment of doing them. And I think oftentimes as entrepreneurs, especially mompreneurs, where it's you are a mom and you have that role, and then outside of that, you're like, the only time that I have outside of being a mom, I just want to put into being an entrepreneur. And that's amazing. And obviously do that, but also to spend time doing things that just like light you up just for the sake of doing them, even if it's not driving the needle in your business. Because at the end of the day, like, you need to fill your cup before you're filling other people's cups. And whether you're a mom or whether you're an entrepreneur, like, you are filling other people's cups. And so you need to make sure that you have a full cup to pour from. And that comes from making time for play. Now, the next person, and I promise you that after this one, there's only 3 people left. And so we're wrapping things up here. But again, I hope there's so many golden nuggets that you're learning. But the next person is Devin. And what I learned from her is that you deserve to be surrounded by people who accept you for every bit of who you are. And you shouldn't have to hide your face in any way, shape, or form. And if your people are not accepting you, you need new people. The next person is Joanna. And she also played a huge role in the Flodesk retreat and bringing people together. So her and Ruth were the main people that planned the Flodesk retreat, and I'm just so grateful for the time that they spent putting that together. And again, it's just so worth it to get in the room and to get people in the room. But what I learned from her is that life may call you into a new and unexpected season, and it will be more beautiful than you ever could have imagined, even if in the moment you were unsure how it's going to unfold. And I think that that can be a huge thing for so many people listening, where it's if you're feeling pulled in a new direction and you're not sure what it's going to look like if you follow down that path, like just trusting that it's going to be, yes, unexpected, but also more beautiful than you ever could have imagined. And that for me is that has been my entire journey. Like I think about all the doors that I have walked through, and all of them have been so unknown. Like when I walked into network marketing after or while I was doing nursing school, and then after I left nursing school to take network marketing full time, and then when I took my very first social media management job, and when I became the head of social media for a startup company, and then when I started my business and I opened one-on-one coaching, like all these doors that I've walked through have been very unexpected seasons, but looking back, truly they have been so beautiful, and I'm so grateful that I took the chance to just see where that would lead. And I think that there's so much power in being able to try new things and being willing to take on new opportunities. The next person is Rebecca. And I don't know, I should know this, especially after going on the Flodesk retreat, but Rebecca and Martha is the next person I will talk about. But Rebecca and Martha are the founders of Flodesk. I don't know exactly what their role is. Obviously they're the founders, but sorry, in terms of title, I should say, I don't know if they're like co-founders or co-CEOs or what they call themselves, but they're amazing human beings inside and out. And just seriously, like the coolest people. I could probably just speak for hours on them. They're just like the coolest female founders that there could ever be in any space. And I just adore them and wish that I could be them, basically, is what I'll leave it at. But Rebecca, what I learned from her is simplify. So we had a really cool fireside chat with Martha and Rebecca about just the whole journey of Flodesk and what it looked like building it and all the different aspects of it. And one thing that Rebecca talked about is their process of when it comes to creating a new feature inside of Flodesk, what the process is that they go through. And so they obviously come up with this idea. And what she said is, we go through a refinement of this feature or tool, probably 100 times, she said, and just simplifying and refining and simplifying and refining until it is in its simplest form, but it doesn't lose any of its value and power. And I just found that really amazing. And I also love that too, because my word of the year for 2024 is simplicity. And so I love the idea of how can we take this idea that we come up with or this offer that we create and simplify it into its most purest, simple form. And that is actually what is most powerful. It's not this complex idea that we had to come up with. It's how can we simplify it and make it the easiest possible without losing the value of the thing. And that's what we should be doing in our businesses. And I think for me as an entrepreneur, especially when I very first got started in entrepreneurship, I got lost in that, in the sense of complexity of, oh, I need to add in 100 trainings to this course because that's what makes it more valuable. When in reality, it's how can I give people the information in the simplest way possible with the least amount of trainings? Because that is actually what is most valuable, right? Both of them are going to give you the same outcome, but when people have to sift through all of the fluff to be able to get to that outcome, you're doing a disservice to them. And so I love that concept from Rebecca of take this idea and then refine it, and then refine that, and then refine that until it's in its simplest form, but it doesn't lose the power of the actual idea. The power of, in the sense of obviously what they're creating is different tools and features for Flodesk, but for your business, the power of the outcome. Last but definitely not least is Martha. And the lesson that I should also say, Martha is one of the other founders, in case you missed that there, of Flodesk. So what I learned from her is that some things in business won't have a direct and measurable ROI, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it, because those things are often the things that actually build our businesses the most. And so she was talking about how she will be hosting another retreat, bringing in more people in person. And that's a huge focus for them at Flodesk, is bringing more people into the room, which I love, and that's so powerful and so aligned with what I'm trying to build, obviously, with the Profit Maven Summit. But she was talking about how there's not a direct ROI when you host things like that. If I went and presented the idea to my finance team of hosting another retreat, my finance team is going to say this is not worth it, because your finance team is going to look at things in terms of the ROI of things. And she said, but I know that even though if there's not a direct measurable ROI, that this is actually what is building my business the most. And it's because of the people of it. And I just love that. And it made me think about something that actually happened pretty recently. So as a business owner, I'm going to get a little bit vulnerable here with you. I often look at everything in life through the lens of ROI. Like, I'm just going to be completely transparent. I look at friendships, investments, time spent doing certain things, like all through the lens of ROI. And it is a downfall of mine for sure. And everything doesn't need to be transactional. And it's something that I'm 100% working on. But we're in, this is a whole nother story. At the time of this situation happening, we were in the process of trying to close on land that we wanted to build our dream home on. And side note there, it didn't end up working out. Not because of the land, just didn't end up, it didn't have all the things that we wanted it to have. It was like good at face value, but there was like a huge underlying problem. So we didn't end up going into that. So we're sad about that. But we were in the process of trying to close on land at this time of the situation happening. And I asked my husband that night if it was a bad decision to not invest our money into something that was going to give us a return on our money. Like, I literally said that. I was like, I think we were going to close on the land like within the next 2 days at this time point. And I was like, is it worth it to invest our money in our dream property and dream home if it's not going to give us a return on our money? And he reminded me of something that is just so important. And the last thing I'll leave you with in this episode, which is that happiness is an ROI too. And I was like, boom, mic drop. That was so good. And so again, it's not always about the data and the amount of money and the ROI that you're getting from every single aspect of your life, but also too, from his reminder that happiness is an ROI too. So that's what I leave you with. And I hope that you found a little golden nugget. And I would love to know what your golden nugget is. Shoot me a direct message on Instagram, shoot me an email, and also connect with these wonderful, beautiful, amazing, powerful ladies down in the show notes. Check them out on Instagram. They are wonderful. Thank you so much for tuning in today's episode.